Welcome back to the podcast where we ask the question, what makes you happy? Our guest today is a small business entrepreneur who likes to write in their spare time and is also the author of A Flicker in the Water, talking all things ocean and water adventure. Just to start with, please welcome today, we have Bob Gonzalez from Florida, USA. It is a pleasure to have you with us, Bob.
Hello, Jake. How are you doing in Australia?
Yeah, doing really well. It's currently about 10:40 p.m. here, and it's 8:40 a.m. where you are,
8:40 a.m. Yeah, Central Time.
and we're syncing up all over the world to talk about what makes you happy, Bob. So super excited to dive into that, as is maybe part of the theme of your book. There's a terrible play on words there, but anyway, we'll move on from that. What makes you happy, Bob?
What makes me happy? Connecting to nature makes me happy, and that's the reason why I wrote this book. I felt so connected to nature and the ocean and just my humanity by writing this book. Here's a copy of it, A Flicker in the Water. It's being out there. There's nothing as satisfying for me as being out on the sea.
How do you feel? Grab that book again for me. Hold it, look at it for a second for yourself. How does it feel to see that your creation in your own hands, something that you wrote down on paper, come to life like it? How does that make you feel?
It feels fantastic. I almost feel as if it were like one of my kids. It's yeah, it's an offspring of mine, so it feels great.
How long were you working on it?
It took about a year from when I started working on it until it got published.
And were you just passionate about writing, or the topics within the book? What drew you to writing, and what kept you writing?
Well, what kept me writing is while I was doing it, I felt like I was actually out at sea doing it. So it just that kept me going. I felt like I was made me happy being in another place.
When did you discover that writing was the thing that really just absorbed your time and made all other issues in your life sort of fade away for that moment?
I started writing like on blogs maybe like 10 years ago, and people enjoyed it. So after a while, I just decided to write a book about my adventures.
Yeah, and do you think that's been a bucket list goal of yours for a long time, or it just came naturally through the blogging?
It just came naturally. I never really expected to do it at any time. It's just something that kind of evolved that way.
What would your advice be to our listeners and watchers who may be struggling to find that flow or thing in their lives that makes them happy?
If you have an idea, just go for it. The inspiration can come at any time for anybody. So as soon as you feel inspired to follow something passionately, just go for it. That's what I would say.
No, I can speak to that truth. That is something I personally do in my life. My God, if I feel strongly about something or passionately about something, I don't want to sit there and laying in bed at night and going, oh, what if? No, I've got to get out there and do it. I'm itching to do it. I can't shut those cells down in my body, right? It's like, so explore that. This podcast just came to me one day, and I was like, wow, it took me nearly 8 months to launch it, Bob. But the whole time I was thinking, I've got to do it. From the moment I had the idea, I heard someone say, you have a 5 or 1 minute podcast where you interview celebrities. And I was like, oh, I could do a short question podcast. I'll ask them what makes you happy. Even though it took me 8 months, I was like, I have to do it. Like my blood was boiling every single day.
Yeah.
So if you've got that one thing in your life, work towards it. Don't put it off, because I can't imagine all the amazing people I've met. I never could have imagined that, the connections, the opportunities that it's netted me just from pursuing something that sounded cool. Get out there and try those new things, don't you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. I can't wait until you write your book one day.
Oh, it's going to be super cool. And we're probably going to have transcripts from what you're saying in there too, Bob.
Okay.
So pretty awesome. But Bob, thank you so much for sharing all things that make you happy, sharing your piece of your book. I love that you have your t-shirt on as well. Can you show that off as well for us?
Yeah.
Like, super cool, Bob. Thank you for making the time in your morning to share all things that make you happy. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it also.
Beautiful. And thank you to our lovely listeners and watchers wherever you are in the world. We hope that this episode has brought you a little bit more happiness. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the podcast. We hope it gives you something to think about on your quest to discover what makes you happy. Make sure to check out whatmakesyouhappypodcast.com to connect with today's guest and follow us on all our social media platforms and to stay up to date at what's happening next at What Makes You Happy. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend, and we'll see you next time.